Hi, this is Nix from Triple E, and today I'm going to show you how you can incorporate vacuums into your to make it a training regime or part of a training regime, so that you can get the benefits of it, introducing it into your training regime. A lot of people, me myself, I have the sport that I do, especially professional athletes. They don't have time to go and do a 45-minute session every week or a 25-minute session added on to their already extreme program. So what you want to do ultimately is have the warm up and then just naturally have this as part of your training regime. Like I'm training at the moment a client, a personal training, and part of her weight training program is to have vacuums part of it. So during the whole program, I incorporate after certain exercises and even before certain exercises or certain postures that will help with the specific program that she has. But then again, you can also use LPF, low pressure fitness, and vacuums to make it a training program for you. If you're a person that you don't want to do weight training, or you go for a run but you just want that little bit of an extra kick, training and the recuperation part and the abdominal strength, the core, everything that goes together, this is a very wide kind of exercise. So it's perfect to do together with an ab training. It's perfect to do before any exercise, and you should be doing it before and after, but going for perfection is a little bit hard. So I would say start incorporating it little bit by little bit. You will get the benefits anyway. You're not going to have the wow benefits as if you start with me, for instance, in an online training, and I first have your body understand what it needs to do, get the maximum capacity within about 2.5 months or 3 months, and then incorporate it into your program. Ultimately, that's all you need. But you can just watch some of my tutorials, and you can just start incorporating it into your program and get back to me. Tell me some comments, tell me how it goes, and questions are always welcome. I love just helping out people, so advice is for free. So you can see I have a TRX band here, and it's just basically to show you that you can use this as well for the vacuums. It's a lot harder to do it. Well, I can't hang it up, but you'll get the hang of it. But you're going to have to do. You can do the same with an elastic band. So first thing that we're going to do, especially if you have tight hips, this one is very good. It seems, maybe it might seem a little bit silly, but trust me, this one is very easy and good to do. So all you need is, everybody has a chair at home, but make sure that this chair is more or less 90 degrees for your knees. So because what you want to do is have your knees approximately 90 degrees, okay? Sit on the edge so that you can have that natural arch in your lower back. So we don't want to overdo it, but you don't want to sit like this either, because then you're closing. One of the secrets of doing ab vacuums and doing it correctly is to not close the area between the rib cage, the floating rib cage was the last little one, and the hip bone. So one of the secrets that I have, one of the tips I teach people that exercise online with me, is to always test with your hands. So you put your pinky on your hip bone, you put your thumb on your floating rib bones, and then you will notice as soon as you start opening the floating ribs, you start trying to extend them further away from your hip bone, you'll notice that you're actually bending the upper part of your back and not the lower part of your back. And that is exactly what we want to do. That's what we want to achieve. Okay? So it's always trying to open this area. And you'll notice that most people have a flat belly. instantly, just by doing that and extending the rib cage up, which is my case as well, instantly, boom, you have flat core. You don't have that bulging out stomach anymore. And I've seen it with so many clients. So the next big thing and secret in this practice is to always have your feet and your knees hip width apart. The easiest way to do it, because you can't measure it, well, it's a little bit harder to measure this way, is to put your hands the base of your wrists on your hip bones, and then the direction that your hands are in, well, that's where your knees should go, and your toes. Okay, and that's going to avoid that you're sitting too wide or you're sitting like this, which a lot of women sit like this. So we want to have ultimately everything perfectly straight. So I'm giving you a lot of clues here to go and practice on your own. Okay, from here, the only thing that you really want to do is concentrate on your breathing. So we're just going to do some neurodynamic movements. If you're going to, for instance, go windsurfing or kite surfing, or you're going to go paddling or whatever. Tomorrow I'm going paddling, so I'm going to liberate my arms, my shoulders, my scapulars. I'm doing some rotations. So we're doing neurodynamic movements for that. But at the same time, the fact that I'm sitting with my leg bent at 90 degrees, my knees bent and my feet flexed the whole time is giving space for the sciatic nerve to move. Very important. The other fact is when I'm doing the actual hyperpressive in this posture, I'm increasing flexibility in my body because ultimately it is pulling everything up. I've got better blood circulation and my immune system gets support as well. So there's a lot of extras that goes along with simply sitting and doing a couple of movements with your arms and a couple of vacuums. You don't really need much more to do, and you can do this very easily as part of your warm-up before a run. Right, so what I want to do in the neurodynamic movements, and I do that together with the breathing exercises, start warming up the diaphragm, is to have my hands facing the back of the wall. So the palms of the hands are facing the back of the wall, which causes the elbows. So have a look at your elbow, what it does when you do this movement, because ultimately we want to have the elbows up and a little bit forward, which means that you're rotating the scapulars outwards. And that gives more space for the diaphragm to do its work. Also, it liberates the nerves. So this posture is by far the best posture to create space so that if you have any nerve damage or you have any nerve issues, pain, cervical, lumbar, this is by far your best posture and probably the safest one to do as well. Right. So from here, what you want to do also, and very important because the nerves does, and in your fingertips, in your hands, is to not have your hands come in. We don't want to cause pain. This is going to stretch a little bit too much. So you want your fingertips to actually extend from your arm. They are extension, so they just want to try and stretch towards outwards, right? And then from there, all we're going to do is we're going to breathe in, you're going to turn, open one hand, and your head turns the opposite way. So you look away from the hand that's turning at the same time. So you're going to breathe in. We're not stretching, just looking that way until your vision is in line with your arm. And then you come back. And then you go to the other way. And then you come back. And you're going to feel a slight stretch. If you're stretching your fingertips outwards, you're going to feel a slight stretch in the triceps and maybe under the armpits a little bit. And that's good. If you're not feeling that, then when you get to the point where you actually have turned your head and have opened your hand, pull your fingertips, only the fingertips, not the arm. Just open the hand backwards before you come back. And you'll feel a stretch going up your forearm, going up your underarm and your triceps. And that is ultimately what we're looking for. Don't go to the extreme. As soon as you feel a tingling going on in your fingertips, relax a little bit and come back. But let's just do a couple of them just so you can get the grasp the idea of it. Okay, let's breathe in. all the air that you can goes in. Breathe to your maximum before you breathe out. And remember to drop your jaw, relax your face. Every time you breathe out, it's super slow, controlled, and you relax your face. You never press out the air. Breathe in to the other side. And breathe out. So you let the air run out on its own, but you still control the amount of air that goes out. Breathe in. And release. Sit nice and tall. Breathe in. Release. Go for a little open of the rib cage. And release. You're probably telling me my arms are getting tired. I know your arms are getting tired. My arms are getting tired as well, but that is good. That is good, but you might, if you were tight in your hips, I went for a run yesterday and I could feel my calves were tight, my hips were tight. Right now, that is gone. The tightness and the pulling that I felt before I started, just from that couple of breaths and sitting in this position and flexing and making an effort, well, I'm not feeling that tension in my legs anymore. And we're going to do exactly the same thing, right? You're going to breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, then go for a little vacuum, just testing the territory. Now, vacuum is ultimately just opening your rib cage. So that's the effect that you get from it. So you're just going to have a vacuum and then do the same thing in one vacuum. See if you can do that, because many times we don't have the amount of oxygen in our bloodstream to be able to hold it. Right, let's go for it. Breathe in and release. Breathe in and release. And a vacuum. And okay, recuperate a little bit your posture, because maybe your shoulders went up, maybe your head went up. It's very normal because the diaphragm does pull everything. So it's very natural from all the breathing as well that the shoulders go up. So when we take the next breath after doing a hyperpressive, it's the recuperation breath. So that means adjust everything that needs adjusting. Maybe your feet are not flexed anymore. Check your knees. Just glance down very quickly. Check your knees. Get that posture. Measure. Boom. Okay. So push up always the spot between your ears on top of your head. That's what you want to try and push that up. All right. And then let's do that again. Open the rib cage. And that's it. That's the perfect warm-up. That's more than enough time to have a good warm-up. All right. The next one that I'm going to show you is with the band. So what you saw me getting up with a straight back. So what you want to do in this practice is keep it up. What we're trying to incorporate. So in this time, it would be ideal for you to focus on having the perfect posture. So you're like a rag doll basically that's being held up by strings. You try and keep it up because you ultimately teaching your body to adjust itself. So if you're going to collapse straight after just doing the warm-up, then you're not actually creating and achieving what you're trying to achieve in this practice. Right, the next thing that we're going to do is literally do just a couple of bicep curls while we are doing the vacuum. It's a lot harder to do, so a lot of people won't achieve it, but it's a good challenge anyway. So just step down on your band on one foot. Have the one foot a little bit forward. Now, when you have the center, have the foot forward, that knee is going to bend, but the back one is also going to be slightly bent. And just check between your feet, because you probably will see that the heel's gone inward, turned inward. So what you want to do is have the heel parallel to the other one. So you want to have your foot. So have a look at your foot. The other thing that you need to be careful of is that you're not collapsing, that you're not doing that, right? So keep that space, again, keep that space, and have a straight line going from the back heel to the crown of your head. So if you put a stick right next to your body should follow a straight line from your heel, pushing through your head as if there's an arrow going through. And from there, we're literally just going to do bicep curls with vacuums. So breathe in and breathe out. Push your shoulders to your waist, not backwards, but to your waist. Breathe in again. All into your chest. Go for a vacuum and a bicep curl. It's a lot harder than you think, because immediately the body wants to do what I just did, wants to have the elbows up. The interesting thing is that you have a lot more power and it's a lot easier than you think. It's very interesting to know that when you do a vacuum, that it's a lot easier to carry the weight than without the vacuum, and that's why the core gets stronger. So we're going to do that again. So do a bicep curl now. Notice the strength, and if you feel any movement in your lower back, that means you've lost posture, like I have. Do that again. Try and keep your elbows right next to your body. Now go for a vacuum. Breathe in. Release. Good posture. Vacuum and bicep curl. You can do as many as you want. A lot of people are going to do one and they're going to run out of oxygen, because your muscles are actually using oxygen, which is a good thing. We want that. We want our body to know that I'm doing an exercise, so I'm using oxygen, but I'm depriving myself of breathing, which means my body needs to create more red blood cells. That's what we want to do. So I'm going to show you from the other side. And again, I'm looking through my feet. So it's not a big stance. I'm not doing a squat. I'm not getting into a squat position either. And this band is quite tight. You can use any strength you want. I would say don't make it too hard, so you don't want to lose your posture. Ultimately, that is the best thing that you can do for yourself, is keep the good posture. Okay, so knee slightly bent. Keep the space between your hip bone and the floating rib. Breathe in and out. Vacuum and bicep curls. And breathe out. Breathe in again. And out. Go for another. And breathe out. That's perfect. That's more than enough. So you can practice with that, and then we can do, you can do about 3 sets of that and do a couple of them just be very careful that you get enough oxygen in afterwards. As soon as you get dizzy, that means either, number one, you're breathing out too fast, or number two, you're not getting enough breath in between the sets. So if you're getting dizzy and you know for sure that breathing out was longer than breathing in, then most probably you need 2 breaths to recuperate in between vacuums. Now that depends on how advanced you are. The more advanced you are, the more you practice hyperpressives, the less you're going to need to breathe in between the vacuums. So I can do 1 breath and then I can carry on. Sometimes I don't need a breath and I can do a vacuum straight afterwards. But that is because I've been doing it for many years. So if you want to get up to that level and ultimately that is going to give you more benefits, well, then you need to practice more often. And I'm not saying hours, just, every day or every second day, every third day. At least about twice a week, then you get benefits. Okay, so the next one we're going to do is literally a squat. Now here you can do the same thing, but with weights. Okay, so you have your weights. I'm going to get into the stance, so I'm making sure that my toes are facing forward and the back toe is off the floor. So I'm pushing upwards, I'm bending the back toe, and I have, I know that you test it first, that if I do go down, that my front knee is not going to go over the toe. Also that my knee is not rocking in, I'm going to lose my balance. So it's pushing a little bit outward, but it's the same direction as the toe, right? And that the hip is not out. That your hips are facing forward. That's what you want. And when I go for the squat, it doesn't have to be deep to start with. It can just be a little one, but that the back knee is pushing in. Okay? That you're not collapsing on yourself. The back knee is pushing in. So press between the feet to have good balance. So keep that rib cage open and just give it a test. Go down, stay there. Do a bicep curl, come back up. Let's do that again. Breathe in. As you breathe out, go down. Vacuum bicep curl. And breathe out. Breathe in. And out. Breathe in. And out. Down. Vacuum bicep curl. And stand up. So that is quite hard. And you can see the whole time my knees bent, the back knee. So I'm actually the whole time making a little bit of an effort. So I'm working my legs. I was shaking and I had to readjust. If you need to readjust, do so. It's important the whole time. You cannot have your stance perfect, but you keep trying to perfecting it. So let's do it from the other side so you can see it from a different angle. And I'm trying to not have my feet in line. I'm trying to have my feet keep about a hip width of distance between them. That's the way you can have your balance, right? So trying to get my stance, trying to stand up straight. Here I'm not leaning forward. Here I'm trying to stand up straight. So I'm just going to test it. So I'm not trying to go down with straight legs. I don't want it too far back. But you're going to have to test it yourself and see what works for you. So my knee's pushing out a little bit the front knee. And I'm going to practice. Okay, so I go down, bicep curl, and up. Now breathe. And try and have your hips the whole time push forward. Breathe in again. And go down as you breathe out. Vacuum bicep curl. And that's more than enough. That is, you can do, again, about 3 sets, and about 3 of them in each set. If you want to add more weight, try some weight. I just, as an example, used 1 kilogram. They're way too light. But if you're not used to working with weights, then you'll be surprised though. You'll be surprised at how much weight is being taken off during the vacuum. And then afterwards, ultimately, we obviously want to recuperate a little bit. So I would say do a wall series. Now, a wall series, you're just using a wall to help you out with, I'm actually breathing quite hard. The wall series, you can either use a wall, a door, or you can just lie down on the floor. So we just want to recuperate and adjust, because having used weights, there might have been some displacements. So put your heels against the wall, hip width apart. Make sure your feet are parallel, toes facing forward, and stand up straight, and try and bend your knees slightly, and try and have the upper back touch and not the scapula. So you're going to have to rotate your elbows forward as much as you can and have your hands facing backwards to not have the scapulas touch. And breathe in. And as you breathe out, bring your weight forward in a straight line. And press up through the crown of your head. Breathe in. And release. Vacuum. And release. And then you can use the TRX, the bands, which is the same thing. So you can ultimately, there is a little bit of weight on them. You can use the bands any way that you want. You can actually go down, go in a push-up and try and do a vacuum, which is very, very hard. So I would say do that on your knees and be careful of mindful of your back. But with the TRX bands, ultimately what you can do is just use the little bit of weight you have and hold the elbows forward and up. Just that little bit of weight to do, I'm going to try and do it this way, to try and do the vacuum that way. Rather hang. So open your palms, hang that weight. So now you're doing more of the shoulder workout. Open that rib cage again. So remember that stance you just did against the wall, the recuperation stance. Feet hip width apart. Spread your hands out, have the elbows come up, fingertips slightly downward, so extension. Breathe in. Release. Vacuum. And release. The TRX, there's a lot of things that you can do. You can do it on one foot. You can bring the foot out beyond your knee. There's quite a lot of things that you can do with this. You can also have one hand with both, which is a lot more weight, and the other one with nothing, and then swap sides to have the vacuum going again. So again, you're standing hip width apart, knees slightly bent, same that you did against the wall. So this is a lot more weighty than the other one. And again, I'm trying to have my elbows come forward, shoulders not higher than the shoulders. I'm not trying to do this. If you do this, then you're going to slump. So you want to keep that chest nice and open, keep that floating rib far away from the hip bone. Breathe in and release. Vacuum. And then swap sides. The same thing to have everything equal. Release. Vacuum. And release. And I can definitely feel that the shoulders have been working. This is ultimately The perfect way before you start training with weights. I have a good warm-up of my diaphragm. I have a little bit of warm-up in my legs and my shoulders. I can now feel I can do some weight training, do some rolls, do some stretching now afterwards. And another thing that you can do is going for a stretch, forward bend, get a bit of a stretch in the hamstrings. So again, feet hip width apart, come into this posture, which is a straight back, just a straight back. So you're extending and careful that your head don't go up. So we don't want to have any curvature in the neck. We always want as if the neck is solidly in line with the spine the whole time. That's what you want. Breathe in, elbows out as always, release and vacuum. And then kind of run your legs down with a straight back, drawing your hands down your legs, bent knees, breathe in, release, vacuum. Go for another one. And while you do it here, try and push your bum up with your back being completely straight and neck is nice and relaxed. Your fingertips are showing inwards to have your elbows outwards. And just go for another one. So breathe in, release. And as you do the vacuum, press your hips up. And release. And then when you come up with your hands. Slowly, straight back, push yourself up. The same way that you went down, you come back up. Okay. Try that before any of your weight training sessions. Try that before you go for a run, and try that after you run as well. It's the perfect way just to add a little bit on, especially when we start getting to an age where we need to actually start doing some weight training. Then this is really ideal to prepare your body for what's coming with weight training. And you'd be amazed at how easy it is to lift weights when you actually do a vacuum, because the core is all intact. If you like this video, then share it by all means with your friends, with anybody that you know that's doing weight training or is doing any kind of training that you think could benefit them. Try it at home, leave me a comment, ask me a question. That's more than welcome. And I'm happy to hear back from you. Have a great day.